Good evening here on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel. I'm Joel McCall. Visiting now with Mitch Olson. He is the head coach for the Central Riverhawks 1-0 football team after their W last Thursday. We have a lot to talk about. First of all, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time. Do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Joel. It's a lot more fun talking to you after a win.
I believe that 21-0 was the W on Thursday night over Eau Claire North, a game we got to cover right here on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel. A shout out to 1,400 plus that have already checked out that particular live stream. Luckily, we got it on. I'll just say that we had some issues up in the press box, but overall, we got it done just like the Riverhawks got it done 21-0. Defense, magnificent. I'm going to start on the defensive end because you have the shutout. I thought really your corners played very well and were challenged for much of the ball game, Coach.
Yeah, they did play really well. Two guys that didn't get a whole lot of time last year, so they were baptized by the fire a little bit. I thought they both played really well. Leo got tested on some deep balls right away. And, if we were to show film at a clinic or show film at a practice and say, this is how we want it done, this is how we want you getting into the fit, and you look and lean and you play the ball, and he did that perfectly. So Coach Arnold must be doing a pretty good job working with him in practice. And then Javon, he learned pretty quick. He could have pulled the trigger a little faster on some of their out routes. But when he did pull the trigger, he made a great break and, had that ball right here. I think he saw the end zone before he saw the ball. But I thought that they both did a good job. They were pretty good in run support, but those kids are good athletes and they can cover.
Yeah, they sure can. And again, as you said, Javon, yeah, he would like to have that one back, I'm sure, because that was a pick six right in his hands. The Huskies actually started out with a really good drive. They got Olson going with that 35-yard run. It was actually their biggest play of the entire game. Happened to be, I believe, play number 4, according to my drive chart. So they got that 35 yards off of from Olson, but then of course the forced fumble. That was kind of the story of the game for you and the defense, where you guys were forcing fumbles, getting some turnovers. I know you did it so well last year, but boy, did you ever expect, hey, we're going to get another +3 or was it +4 on the night?
Yeah, I always expect us to be positive in the turnover battle. I got it on my mind that one big run was just one missed assignment. And we were pretty assignment clean after that. And then they did shoot themselves in the foot. That's probably a different football game if they're able to punch that ball in. And some of the other just misfortunate turnovers, the center snapping the
Snap.
ball, quarterback wasn't there. Those are gifts. I do think that we had a couple that our kids did a good job of forcing. And we've talked about it before. We value possession of the ball. It's something that we rep a lot on defense throughout the week, is taking the ball away. And it's also a focus for our offense.
Yeah, that's for sure. As you said, the one was the bad snap. It ends up hitting the guy that's coming across the line before the snap, and Quan is the one that I believe recovered that one. I know after the first fumble, it was just a quick 3 and out. Ended up not having the ball for more than a minute, but boy, that another forced fumble, and after that actually was the snap. You got great field position, and Alvarado was doing everything he could on that drive. It got you in for 6 from 6 yards out. Actually, it's a good drive.
It was really good. I thought Jude did a terrific job the whole night. He never totally, and he does have a little bit of experience playing quarterback. He played a lot. He started, at receiver, at running back last year as a sophomore, but it's a different ball game when you're playing quarterback. And I thought he just did a great job with his composure and being relaxed enough on the field to knock it into a bad headspace where he can just use his athletic talents. He did a very good job with his arm, and we know how good he is with the ball in his hands when he's running it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of his passes. I just wanted to go through the first half quickly. McCracken is the other fumble. That was a good forced fumble that the Riverhawks had. Hanson recovered that. Then Alvarado with his arm, and that came down. I believe that was a third down play because I think it came after the pass interference penalty, no gain. Then I think it was maybe +2. So you're 8 yards out. talk to me about that particular one, because you got to have that. That's a third down and goal at the 8, and it was a perfect throw by Alvarado.
Yeah, it was. I have complete confidence in what they're doing on that side of the ball. And I don't call the offensive plays. And I learned really fast after my first year up at Carson Park in week 1 or week 2, when I suggested something to Coach Colburn and it didn't work out. Sometimes I just need to sit back, and he knows what the heck he's doing. So I don't have much input for them, but I do know that, Coach Colburn looks at our kids and he says, these are our best athletes. It's time to get them a touch and get them a shot. And I think that's what that was in that situation. He liked Aaron in that particular matchup. And he knew Jude was going to be able to throw a good ball on that comeback route. So that's a hats off to, our kids and then our offensive staff for also understanding that that's a look that we really liked out of that set. That comes from the collective offensive staff, that side of the ball. Those guys do a great job of working together, sort of figuring out what's going to be the best way to exploit certain defenses.
Yeah, and then Polma made that great catch in the end zone. Then he made a tremendous catch later on. What concentration it was to get that ball. I believe that was the third drive of the second half. Again, fairly good field position too, because you started at your own 45, and he picked up 35 on that catch, and he bobbled it a little bit too. And the defender fell down. There was a lot of things happening on that play. He had great concentration to pull it in.
He was, it was one of those where I don't think I was even really able to celebrate that much, just because I was kind of stunned a little bit, like, holy cow, that kid just made that play. But yeah, once it set in, I think we were all pretty jacked up on the sidelines.
Yeah, and one thing is that almost the entire night, North was going one-on-one outside, and you kind of knew that eventually there was going to be some shots there. Meyer obviously comes up huge on the very next play from 18 yards for the final touchdown. Your defense, I'm going to go back to the defensive side though, Coach, because there's so many guys that we could highlight. I'm glad we talked about the corners, obviously your defensive line. And one thing that even Coach Arnold mentioned to me prior to the game was one of our biggest attributes and our strengths for this year is going to be our defensive line and our offensive line. And I know you've kind of said that too last week, where you said we left the best for last. We're kind of doing that again here on the recap, but man, your defense and offensive lines were really controlling things against North, and it showed.
Yeah, and we've changed up a little bit with how we're running our defense, and in all honesty, it's because we have the personnel to run a little bit of a different defense this year. We've got some bigger kids in the middle, and then we've got some athletic kids on the outside. With what we're doing on defense right now kind of fits us and who we want to be and what we want to do. We've got a lot of speed in the back end, from our linebackers to our D-backs. Every single one of those kids can run. We've got a number of kids that were down at the state track meet, either in our defensive backfield, and then we've got a pretty good one at receiver too that was on the podium. So we've got team speed. In all honesty, we've kind of had that for a while, but now we can take care of the box a little bit better. I think I'm gonna knock on wood here. We can take care of the box a little bit better and allow those guys in the back end to run and chase stuff down, and can count on those big boys, holding down the fort up front.
Well,
and then our offensive line, those kids, part of what has helped them really grow this year is a lot of them played last year as sophomores. Mm-hmm. But also, and maybe the biggest thing is, John Kleinhans is a heck of a football coach, and we're really fortunate to have him. He's really good at motivating kids, and he's really good at knowing what the heck he's talking about. He's been coaching football for a long time. So it's, I've learned so much football from him just over the past 2 years that he's been with. He coached freshman football for us last year. And then this year, being able to go to work with him every single day, and watch how he coaches those offensive line. I've never seen it done at a higher level. And he deserves a lot of credit for how much success I really think the offensive line is going to have this year.
Yeah, again, we're talking with Coach Olson, the head coach for the Central football team, again 1-0 after that 21-0 shutout over Eau Claire North. Take me through a little bit of prep, Coach, because you now have the first game underneath your belt. What did you guys do today? How concerned are you about the heat tomorrow and Thursday and Friday, trying to get your practices in and everything else? I mean, what are you guys trying to do for the next 3 days to prepare?
Yeah, well, last Friday after the game, we got a light workout in, flush the bodies a little bit, and then that was our chance to go and watch the Eau Claire North tape. Starting today, our focus was fully on Eau Claire Memorial. The kids got a lift in. Then we went and watched some film, went through the scouting report on Memorial. Kids understand what we want to do and what Memorial is capable of doing. Practice is going to look a little different this week because I've been told it's dang near like 110 heat index. So we're going to practice in the morning on Tuesday and Wednesday, try to beat the heat a little bit, and then Thursday we're going to have a lighter day. So it's going to change a little bit what we do.
Yeah, and you have to. I mean, again, you can't have kids out there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon trying to practice with all those pads on and everything else when it's as you said, 110 degrees out. At least that's what the heat index is supposed to be reading. And well, you mentioned Memorial. Then that is who's coming up, and what a wild game they had against Logan. I popped onto the stream and I was trying to watch that huddle camera, and I actually turned it off with about, I don't even remember, it must have been about 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and I was going to come back to it and I forgot. Talked to Nami the next day and he goes, "Oh, Memorial won." I said, "What?" They were down. I thought it was late in the game. They had quite the comeback in the fourth quarter to end up winning that game against Logan. So were you guys able to, obviously you've watched some of that. I mean, how nuts was the end of that ball game?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I definitely feel for those Logan kids and the coaches. Those are a real good group of guys up there. And we root for them. I think very highly of those guys. I feel bad that it ended how it did, but that's high school football, baby. And you see a lot of it week one of the season too. It's a lot of those kids have never been in that situation before. And they don't necessarily know how to handle it. And it's real easy for people watching the live stream or us sitting back watching college football on Saturday and Sunday and saying, "Well, what the heck's that guy doing?" But a lot of people have never been in that situation. So I feel for him. That's high school football. That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, it was like you said, a rough ending for Logan. And so I wanted to go back. I looked up a little bit about that. So they won 18-16, got those 12 points in the fourth quarter to end up beating Logan. I know that they recovered an onside kick. Holmberg threw for almost 300 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. So they had about 100 yards rushing as well. So fairly balanced there. Had a sack, no turnovers, didn't force any turnovers against Logan, but overall it looked like it was a pretty clean game from both teams as far as the turnover battle. But what did you see out of Memorial? What can you tell me about them? Take me through it before we see them on Friday, Coach.
Yeah, I think, just offensively starting on their outside, they've got some dynamic kids. Number 2 is a kid for them by the name of Julius Clark that started both ways for them last year as a sophomore against us. We only saw him at receiver last week. That kid stuck out last year as a sophomore, so we know that he's going to be pretty good. And they've got some other receivers too, and the quarterback throws it well, so we'll have to take care of that. But they've got a really, really good running back. He's 6'1", 210. He moves really well. A kid by the name of Shamar Simmons, I believe. So we need to keep him bottled up. They've got a couple really good linemen. They're going to be bigger than us up front, but we see that quite a bit. So we just need to make sure that we don't give up any explosive plays to those really good receivers. And then we've got to keep that great big running back bottled up. Defensively, they're going to bring a little bit of pressure. They're going to stack the box a little bit. So, we need to be able to establish a run. And then when it's time to, take a shot with some of our really good receivers, we need to be ready to do that. But the big thing is going to be taking care of the ball. Last year at them, we turned the ball over quite a bit. And this year we need to be better in taking care of the ball if we're going to win it.
Yeah, it should be a great game. I'm really looking forward to it. I'll be emailing their coach probably Wednesday night, and well, probably I'm hoping for Tuesday, but we'll see if I get around to it with the volleyball that we have going on too. But Nami and I are planning on being up there and covering that game, so we're gonna have to get rid of or get a hold of their AD too and make sure that we've got a spot set for the Central YouTube channel because we plan on streaming it. And Coach Olson, I'll be texting or emailing you at least later in the week to make sure I've got the starters correct and everything else. But I want to say again, congratulations on the win on last Thursday. Thank you again for joining me. Do really appreciate it. And thanks to Nami too for interviewing Mr. Hardy. We do appreciate that too, as
Great.
that's already been posted on the YouTube channel.
Yeah. We're looking forward to seeing you up at beautiful Carson Park in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
You bet. Well, that's Coach Olson then. I'm Joel McCall. Again, we had our other interview tonight. Mr. Coach Laxton was with us. And then we have volleyball tomorrow night. There'll be the JV. I think it starts at 5:30, but I'm not going to say that that's for sure. And then we do have the varsity game. Both of those will be broadcast here on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel, but the play-by-play will be coming on the varsity. That is slated for a first serve at 7:00, and that is Central taking on Alaska. I got to finish my game notes tonight to get ready for that. Thank you again to Coach Olson. I'm Joel McCall. Thank you so much for tuning in here on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel.